Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday live stream. Very exciting day today. Not sure why, but it just is. For those who don't know me, I'm Rod. I'm from the Learn to Paint Academy, and we do this every Wednesday, or most Wednesdays, time permitting. And we're here to paint. So this will be a introductory, beginner type level painting here today. Playing around with fog should be a bit of fun. And paint along, or just watch, and you can paint it after the event here today. All right, how is everyone? Good morning, Sharon in New Zealand. Welcome. Morning, Terry in sunny Las Vegas. Looking forward to painting a foggy landscape. P. Colson. Good morning. Margaret in Victoria Point. Welcome. Reference photo is posted in the members area on the activity stream, and it's also posted on our Learn to Paint Academy Facebook page. Just have to scroll down and have a look for that. Janet, good morning in Fort Wayne. Morning, Tatiana in SoFlo, southern Florida, I guess. Marge, Massachusetts, welcome. G'day, Robert in Ireland. Morning, Becky in Oklahoma, and Cindy in London, Ontario, welcome. Morning, Sherry in Leander. Morning, Carly Ray. And g'day, Gail from Georgia. Margaret in Gosford, welcome. G'day, Peter in NZ, welcome. G'day, Gary in Wallabadar. And Magdalene in Hobart, welcome. Hey, Manju in Ontario. Manju, your painting's ready. And it's dry enough now, and I'll be posting it probably on Friday because I've got to go to Brisbane for a couple of days. But it is ready to go. Morning, Linda in British Columbia. Welcome, 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 welcome. Morning, Mary in Ireland. And g'day, Steve in Bell River, Ontario. Welcome. Morning, Sybil in Georgia. Morning, Christine in the UK. Welcome. Tam in Vermont. Good to see you. And g'day, Diane. Morning, Yvonne in WA. And Connie in Saskatoon. Morning, Julie in New Zealand. And Linda in Moncton, Canada, welcome. And Diane is in Saskatchewan. Catches me every time. Morning, Tracy in the Bay, welcome. All right, exciting morning this morning for a number of different reasons. And hopefully it's an exciting morning for you as well. Now, what are we doing? Let me find out what we're doing here. All right, we're going to do some painting, and we are going to have a little go at this painting here. This was a photo taken when we were staying with Sue's aunties in far north Wales in a, what's the name of the town? Anyway, they live in a little valley, and we went for a walk early one morning. And as you can see, it was quite foggy, as it was most mornings. And I thought we'd have a play around with this one today because somebody mentioned, can we do something with fog? And we haven't really done fog before. Really, this is a painting in greys, and it's just, it's going to involve a lot of grey. So that's what we will be doing. I have posted the photo on our Facebook page in the stream there. And it's also in the members area of the Learn to Paint Academy. It's posted in there as well. So you can go and grab a copy of that. And morning, Elizabeth in Vancouver Island. Welcome. G'day, Colin. Down New South Wales. G'day, Teresa in Nova Scotia. I'm super excited to check this foggy scene out. Good, good. Morning, Jenny. Morning, Catherine in Michigan. Welcome. And thank you, Linda and Beverly, both saying I've got it correct. Saskatchewan. Alrighty, probably no more challenging than some of the Aboriginal names we have around here for towns and things. Morning, Beverly. Morning, Meryl. Well, so happy to hear that you'll be posting my painting on Friday. Yes, we'll be doing that, Manju. And Barbara just received her painting that she won as part of the Unleash the Artist Within challenge. It finally arrived at her home in Canada, which is very exciting. Morning, Sherlyn in Louisiana. Nina Paints in San Diego, welcome. All right, well, we are going to tackle this painting here. Morning, Barbara. How are you? And we actually, I just remembered I need to do something for you, Barbara, don't I? I haven't responded to your email. I'll make a note of that. We're going to have a go at painting this foggy scene, and really it's a study in greys, really. There's a little bit of colour in it, but not a lot. So you could effectively paint this as a black and white grayscale, and then just start to layer some greens and things over it. However, there is some subtleties with the edges and things with the greys. So that's what we're going to try and explore in this workshop here today. Let's go to the palette and check that out. It's always exciting when we visit the palette. Here we go. Going to use the same palette we always use. There's lots of different ways to arrive at a result. This is just one way, but this is the way I do it. French ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. That'll form our three primary colours. Will form 80% of our painting here. And you notice I've got a fair bit of white out. That's because our scene has got a fair bit of white in it. Okay, so that's our palette there. And what we need to really come to grips with here is how do we mix up a grey. So I want you to have a think about how do we mix up a grey as we get going here, because our ability to mix greys is going to determine our success with this painting or not, and the subtlety of the transitions as well. So if I mix those two together, the blue and the red, you're going to end up with purple. Okay. If I then take yellow ochre, trying to not get that main pole dirty, but hey, we mix that in, that'll push it away from purple towards dark. Okay. And if I then come in and just slice off that part of the white there, then come in and add this white, you can see it's just still a little bit on the purpley side. Okay. Although it's not too bad for what we want, we can add a little bit more blue into it. Okay. So knowing how to mix a grey like that is going to be important in this painting, right? So it's just a combination of the blue, the red and the yellow. And the yellow will push the... If you mix blue and red, you end up with a purple. The yellow will just push it away from being too purple. And if we take our time and really study what's going on, then we will end up with a middle value grey or a darker value grey. So I'm going to use that as my drawing. Now normally we'd use a slightly darker colour to do our drawing with. It looks like Julie's backyard. Got a bit of fog happening there, Julie. As long as it's not in the head, then we can live with it. Okay, so normally I'd do my drawing with a darker version, but because it's a fairly light overall painting, I've mixed up a lighter grey here for us to work with here today. And I'm using an 8x10 board here. This is 8 inches by 10 inches, which is pretty consistent with the photo. The photo is fairly squared off. And I think what we'll probably end up doing this in two parts. We'll do our rough-in today, step 1 and 2 of the Moore method of painting. And then we will just tidy it up next week. So the fact that it's got fog in it doesn't detract us from our normal working process. Our first step number 1, is big shapes. All right, placing the big shapes in the right spot on the canvas. So if you have a look at that horizon line there, sort of just slightly up above the gate, the horizon line beautifully just disappears into the fog, which makes it quite a magic little scene. But it's just kind of running downhill, somewhere like that. Okay. That gate sort of sits in about there, and then this tree is just a beauty, isn't it? And it's kind of got a morning light behind it, a glow of the morning light, which might be interesting. Just put a little bit of warmth into that fog, just in through here, right? So get shadows into there. And then we've got this road, which is probably more around about there and around about there. Okay, or maybe I'll sweep it back that way a bit more. And that all just disappears, so we have to make sure we paint it disappearing into the horizon there. Okay, so basically we've got one big shape being this tree. We've got our foreground hill being shape number 2. We've got our path here, shape number 3. Shape number 4, we've got a little bit of a tree that's running in through there. And then we've got a gap. And we've got another tree. There's a couple of trees in there, but I'm going to clump them into one, right? A little bit. Just this edge here is sort of just in line with that point there where that path, the path probably actually sweeps around a little bit more. Just around like that a bit more. So that edge comes out to around about there. As I said, there's a couple of different trees happening there, but I'm just going to indicate them as one for the moment. Okay, and that's pretty much it, isn't it? So we've got the sky is number 1. This big tree here is number 2. We've got this foreground area number 3. We could call that number 4 and that number 5, and maybe the path number 6 if you really wanted to get 6 shapes, but I don't know that that's necessary. There's a couple of other details. There's this track here that sort of runs up to the gate. We've got this row of fences here, but we don't need to worry about those just yet. There's going to be a couple of little fence posts in there. And I think that's about it. Maybe I just pop a little bit out like so. So I'm going to treat this tree, there's quite a few sky holes coming through. I'm going to treat this as just one big block, and then we'll add the sky holes in. And we don't really do a lot of discussion about sky holes, so we'll maybe use this as an opportunity to do so. We'll add those sky holes back in later on. So for now, we just want to get our darker tones mapped in, right? So that's going to be our next step. So that's step 1 of the Moore method, is finding those big shapes, putting them in the right spot on the canvas, right? Now I'm pretty sure you guys can all do that, especially if you've been with me for a while. I'm going to pause for 1 second, give you a chance to ask any questions. Morning, Sarah. Good morning, Lynn in Currumbin. Welcome. Morning, Donna. Hey, Sajada in Nevada. Carlene says, Into the Mist. It's a good name for it. Good morning, Sharon in Melbourne. Welcome. Morning, Valerie. Morning, Dawn. Central Coast, New South Wales. Very good. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Just I'm taking a little pause here to give you a chance to ask questions and to drink my coffee. While I give you a chance to ask any questions, I'm about to head off to Brisbane after we finish up here today. And I've got a couple of things to do in Brisbane this afternoon, but tomorrow I'm going to the Brisbane Gallery to see they've got an exhibition of the Met Gallery in New York, which is just an incredible gallery if you ever get a chance to go. It's a must-do. They've brought, I'm not sure how many paintings, but a whole collection of paintings from the Met Gallery, and they're having an exhibition at Brisbane, and there's some French Impressionists amongst it, and then going back in time. So I'm really looking forward to spending half a day there tomorrow. Can you do this one in gouache? Asked Linda. You can, absolutely. The only problem you might find with gouache is it's a very soft and subtle scene. Let's bring it up. It's very soft and subtle, and gouache might, you might just have a little bit of difficulty getting that, getting it to disappear the way the horizon line sort of disappears and that tree at the back is disappearing. So that might be your only challenge with gouache, but you can certainly do it with gouache. There's no problem at all. The same principles all apply. So I think just getting that subtlety of the mist in the distance there is where you might have your challenge with gouache. Feeling good, thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. Marie said hello from New Hampshire. Just finished dinner, so I'm a little late. Kent, glad to see you're addressing sky holes and trees. Yes, you'll see how easy they are when we do them. Sometimes they can be a little bit more difficult, because especially if we're trying to use them to create branches and things like that. Beverly said, can you safely cover a finished non-varnished painting with plastic wrap for transport? I'm not sure what you mean by plastic wrap. Do you mean like bubble wrap? If so, then yes, you can, yeah. Yes, it will be exciting to visit the Met exhibition, Linda. I'm very excited about it. Sonia said going to the MGV soon. Yeah, there's 2 great exhibitions on in Melbourne right now, which was part of the reason why I was coming down to do workshops. So I'm spewing that I probably won't get a chance to see those, but not to worry. All right. Doesn't look like we've got any other questions specifically. G'day Shelley in Alberta. Sharon said heading up to Brisbane next month to see the Met exhibition. Very good, Sharon. Celine said, I'm very excited to see this. Working on a misty scene right now and need the pointers. Well, I think the thing when you look at this photo, right, it looks like there's something complex and mysterious about it, and therefore the way we approach it should be complex and mysterious, right? But in reality, I'm just going to follow the same process that I always follow. And yes, it will be a little bit difficult just to get some subtlety into it. But that's only going to be a matter of just, pushing paint back and forward, light and dark, saturation of the paint, is going to be the key here. Really understanding how to mix your darks. But I've just shown your grey, and I've just shown you how to mix the grey on the palette. So shouldn't be too much of a challenge. I think we sometimes confuse ourselves into thinking that because it just it represents something in particular, like in this case fog, that there might be a particular technique to paint it, but really it's the same technique for painting pretty much everything, I think. Now I've just noticed that I've cut the photo off. I'm just going to fix that because I'm seeing the photo slightly differently to the way it's displaying in this view here. You can see the right hand tree, I've cut it off. I'm just going to fix that so that we don't have any confusion. And then we'll get to step 2, our blocking step. Where is it? Here it is. This one here. I'll just reset that. No, I won't. Multi-view. And there's that one there. Reset. There we go. See how the tree's actually bigger than how it was showing just before. So I just want to make sure that you can see the tree in the right shape. Otherwise you're going to think I've drawn it too big. And you're going to go, this guy's nuts, he doesn't know what he's talking about. With his funny accent. All right, there we go, that's better. That gives a better representation now of the tree. Let us get into it now. So what's step 2 of the Moore method of painting? Step 2 is really our block-in, isn't it? And we're going to start off with our darkest dark, which is our big tree, right? Our darkest dark here, and it sort of comes down into the field here, and then it starts to lighten off, and then we've got our next darkest dark is this tree here, and then this tree here. So we're not going to do anything different, really. However, we're just going to, our darkest dark, in this case, is probably just a tone darker than what I've got here on the palette. So what I'll do is I'll just give myself a little bit of darker tone just on the side here. And I'll just incorporate it into that edge. Okay. Now it's a little bit red, and what I'll do is I'll just push it a little bit yellower a little bit greener. Problem with the photo is my printer doesn't really give me a highly accurate version, but not to worry. Get a bit more blue and yellow into that. So I think taking your time and just getting our mixes right, pretty important with this one. So that's roundabout right. Let's have a look. I'll take my big flat brush, get some water. Now I'm gonna paint this fairly thin because when we come back next week, we'll repaint most of it, and with that repainting, that's when we'll really go for our softness and finessing. So I'm not going to do the sky today because there's a lot of white, and we'll just concentrate on our darks here today. And getting our shapes right, they're important. Got a little bit of overhang there. Bring that into there. Okay, it's going okay. And it kind of carries on down into here before it starts getting a bit green, so I'll just extend it down into there. And it kind of just pushes out a little bit more there. So it gives it more of that shape there. Look, I don't have to get it perfect with the photo, so you can just shape that however you want, but just be careful it doesn't creep out, like I'm already coming out too far that way. So I just need to be mindful of that. It's all roughly the same value in through there, isn't it? And then I could argue that it's probably roughly the same value in through here a bit as well, but a little bit lighter. And then we come to that next tree, this one here, and I just want to lighten that off a little bit. So I've got a little bit of white here, push that in. So I'm going really, this is going to look like a grayscale mostly. I'll add a little bit of colour into it, but the only colour I can see really is there's that green, which is heavily influenced by the grey. And there's a little bit of warmth in the sky, but we won't tackle that just yet. Okay. So that's a very subtle difference from there to there. That grey, it's just a little touch of white, just lightening it off. And then there's going to be a bigger contrast back to this tree here. Okay, this tree here is getting very close to the same value as the white in the sky, or the grey in the sky. It's not white. Okay, so let's take a bigger hit of that white now. Yeah, that's looking good. So that's our darkest dark up here. And then we're going to have a go at this one. I'll just give my brush a slight clean. I'll go and find my paper towel, the all important paper towel. Okie dokie. Pick up that. And there's a fair bit of contrast. So if I come in here and do a test, is that going to be enough of a contrast? I don't think so. I do not think so. I'm going to add more white. Now, what we're really doing here in step 2 of the Moore method of painting is we're really setting up our value structure. Values still apply in a painting that's very grey. In fact, in many ways, values become more important, don't they? If there's not a lot of colour in it. Okay, let's try that. That's better. See that? That's going to make it look mistier. And it's going to be closer to the sky tone. And it's going to make this little foreground tree just pop out a little bit more. In fact, I think I probably got that foreground tree just a tad too dark. A little bit of a tone in there, which is similar to the one up here. A little touch of that goes up there. I'm just thinking I'll just pull out a little bit there, a little bit there. And let's just mix up a kind of a sky colour just to poke in between that tree there. Just see if we're on the right track or not. Okay, make sure you get that white mixed in properly, and that's roughly going to be the sky colour in there. It's going to be something like that, isn't it? With a little bit of warmth. How would we get a little bit of warmth into this grey? Because it is fairly cool. What I would do is just take a little tiny bit of yellow ochre and let's just give it a little bit of warmth in there like so. Okay. And then we can bring that in here. Around the horizon there. I'm just playing around here just to explore ideas. As I said, I'm not going to really work on the sky today, but we'll just add a little touch of warmth in there, like so. Because it is there, or at least it looks like it's there on my computer. Okay, how are we all doing? Actually, we're going good for time, aren't we? Maybe I will press on and do more to it today than what we'd normally do. What accent, says Carleen. The photo is on the activity stream in the members area. Yes, don't worry, be happy. It was on the radio this morning on the way in. Morning, Juliana. Very cold in Perth. Julie says, this is very complimentary to the values course. Absolutely, but it's basically a values study, really, isn't it? And then we're just going to colour it up a little bit in the foreground area. Maybe in the big tree we'll get some better greens in there as well. So you're just adding more white until you get the value you want? Pretty much, yeah. I've just mixed up a neutral grey and I'm just making it lighter. And then I just added a little bit of yellow ochre into get a slightly warmer version, just to scrub that in around the horizon line there. Because it does feel like there's a bit of... Well, it was early in the morning and the sun was probably trying to break through the fog. So There would have been a bit of warmth in there. Okay. In there like so. So what I might do, I might actually come and block in the sky, and then we'll come in and work on the foreground, and that should finish us off for today. So let me just basically use that tone there. Maybe I'll add a little touch of blue over on one side to get a cooler version. Over here. Got our neutral and we've got our warm there. Let's see what happens with that. We'll just play around. At this stage, I don't want to get too locked into anything with this. So I'll keep my paint pretty thin. A lot of water in there. Okay. Because I think the key to this painting to make it work, that actually looks too dark in there. The key to making this painting work, I think, is going to just be working on the subtlety and the finessing of it. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a grey painting, right? So we need to get that. The beauty of it is that softness in it. That's better. That was just a little bit too dark, that sky, when I put that blue in. So at this stage, I'm keeping it blocky. I'm not going to try and soften my edges and things. Because I'm really just exploring if I've got the right values pattern for it. So this tree's got to be very close in value. Hopefully you find this little demo helpful. We don't get a lot of fogs around here, so that's lucky I got these photos from Wales. Down into that warmer passage there. Now, if you get too bright with the colours in the foreground and so on, too saturated, it's going to be too much of a contrast with the greys everywhere else. So just be mindful of that. You know, we have to be really careful about not getting too green in here. In fact, why don't we play around with the greens now? That's good, Linda. It's a good little tune to have in your head. Let's get a little bit of a green happening. All of the colours in here have to be influenced by the grey, though. By the fog. It's got to be influenced by the fog, right? So we'll take a little bit of the grey tone and we'll mix it in. Because it can't be straight out of the tube. That would be highly saturated. This painting is a desaturated painting. It's muted greys, muted colours in here, right? So I'm just taking some of that grey we've mixed up and I'm impacting the green so that it's not a highly saturated green to grade off green. And then we can start to bring that in here. Don't worry, be happy. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Goes lighter obviously up there, so we need to add a little bit of white into that. Okay, now I think that needs to be slightly warmer. We add a little bit more yellow into it. And then we just bring that up in there. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky, doesn't it? See how I'll bring that up to this fog there. However, it kind of disappears. So what I need is to get that sky fog and that colour there together. Okay. Just in here, there's a subtle transition in there. Okay, and again, I'm just doing this really blocky just to feel it out. Get a feel for what we're doing. Starting to get the feel right though, I feel. It's a double feel off. So it's definitely getting the feel. Okay. Just need to get back to that middle tone there. The sky tone rather, not the middle tone. I dirtied up my sky tone with that green. Okay, so far I've used one brush. And I'm giving it a little bit of clean, as you can hear, but it's just one brush. Is all I've used. Okay. Don't need lots of brushes. Oh, just as a bit of an update, I've been working on a new ebook, which will be out maybe later this week or early next week, which is on the keys to improving your painting. It's the same sort of material that we've covered a lot. You know, the 3 keys to improving your painting, the 4 stages of learning anything. Material we've already covered, but just putting it all together in one little ebook. So look out for that. It's really, I've put it together as an introduction for people who have not heard about what we do here at the Learn to Paint Academy, but it may be of interest to you guys if you're interested in reading it. So I'll let you know when it's available. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit more of a feel of warmth in there now, and I just want to soften that transition into that horizon right out there. Probably a little bit more yellowy tone in there, but we'll finesse that next week. Okay, so can you see the patterns here of the darker green going into some lighter green, a little bit more yellow in here, as I said, but we'll tidy that up. But we can see the pattern starting to emerge for this scene here, right? Or hopefully you can. It's starting to come together. Feel that sky could just be a little bit lighter. Dragging a little bit of that sky colour over, not too much though, it's too much there now. But it probably means that that tone, which was this one here, is probably just a little bit too dark for this tree. Now I've got it too light, see that? Now I've got really disappearing into the fog, haven't I? that the only reason why it appears to be disappearing into the fog is just values. I've got very tight values there. They're so similar in value, right? That's why it looks like it's disappearing into the fog. And that's why I made the comment earlier that we're just going to paint this in exactly the same way we would any scene, that there's no magic trick to painting fog. It's just a values, temperature, saturation, all the same things, right? So that tree looks very mystical now, which means this tree is now looking too dark, right? Because I've made that lighter, and the contrast now has jumped. So could we lighten off that tree? Yeah, we could. So it's going to be a matter of finding just that right balance here. Let's just lighten that off a little. And if I lighten this one off, then maybe that tree becomes too dark, although looking at it, maybe it doesn't. Just a subtle little lightening off of that. Okay, there's a bit of a tree trunk around about there. And now I've got that tree disappearing off into the fog. Let's just bring those two together a little bit more in value. Okay. Actually, I don't mind that. I think we might leave that. What do you think? Leave that one as it's disappearing into the fog like that. Sujata says, definitely looking forward to your book. Excellent. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you, Debbie. I am feeling a little bit better today. I would love to come to Ireland, my friend, Robert, and paint some Irish landscapes. Morning, Jenny, on the Gold Coast. Yes, heavy fogs in Melbourne. I remember them well. Sonia said, looking very foggy. Yes, looks great. As is, says Peter. Cool. Yep, leave it, says Linda. The soft edges too have helped the tree to disappear into the fog. Yeah, soft edges are really important to, just to give it a feel that it's there's distance there. Dawn says she likes it disappearing. Where are we up to? Morning, Betty in Melbourne. Really great to see how to approach mist. Great demo. Thank you, Betty. Mitch says, I'm looking at a moving scene like this at the moment, driving between Horsham and Nil in the Wimmera. Oh, yeah, nice. Pretty flat out there. Morning, Lindley. Hi, everyone. I was wanting to do a painting like this for my rustic cookout space. It is going to be painted on a metal wood box. Any hints to preparing the metal door for painting? No. You might have to Google that one. Not sure how you'd prepare a metal surface. Colin said, amazing watching you apply painting fundamentals to this fog scene. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate that. Morning, John. Yeah, leave the back tree as is. Looks misty. Okay, cool. I'm looking at it in the monitor now, so I'm seeing it reverse, and it looks to me like I've actually lowered the value or increased the value. I can never remember which one, but it's a lighter value than what's actually in the photo, it looks like, but it seems to be working. Philippa thinks they're too light. Yeah, as I said, they're definitely lighter now than what they were in the photo. But we'll just leave them for the moment. We'll reassess next week when we come back to finish this off. Good on you, Judy. Judy's been wanting to paint the fog locally, so good. Morning, Jenny. Morning, Kathy. Diane says, leave it, looks great. Kathy says, yes, I like the tree disappearing. It's looking good, says Yvonne. Love the mist, says Jenny. Okay, cool. We are on track. Robert says, a river where the road is would be interesting. Yes, definitely. Dawn says, nice and happy with the singing. Don't worry, be happy, Dawn. I have to keep telling myself that sometimes because, Okay. What have I got going on here? Oh, that's that tree trunk, yeah. So looking at in the monitor, it was a bit confusing. So what we'll do is I'll just soften some of this in a little. Actually, that green only goes part of the way up there. Okie doke. A little bit more darkish green in there. So the road actually has a bit of a purpley feel to it, to me. That could just be the way the printout is printed out. But I'm just going to take our, for now, and we'll reassess next week, we'll just take this sort of tone here. Okay, it's darker, closer to us. Then it lightens off as it heads towards the fog there. So we'll take some of this darker tone here. We'll just start playing around with that. It may look a bit too heavy having it in that darkish tone. Lighten it off up here. Now it has to get fairly light because it has to disappear into that fog as well. Kind of works, but it kind of wants to also have a little bit of earthy tone in there. As well. Soft edges everywhere. So where the grass meets the path there, we're just going to soften it out. Okay, and then it definitely gets lighter, and it's got a little bit of warmth in that lighter part. A little bit more of that yellowy feel up in here. The old finger brush. I don't recommend it really. Use gloves, don't do what I do. Look for anything that's a bit too hard that I can soften out. Okay, let's do a couple of little bits. That's very important artistic talk. Um, Okey-doke. Let's get a little bit of this foggy tone here. I'll use slightly thicker paint. And let's just bring that into here as a backdrop for that gate. So I've got to be careful, I've got a fair bit of wet paint up there now. Okay, now this is all just a little bit too dark. It needs to just be softened back in. More that way. On that kind of angle there. Going okay. We are going okay. So, last little thing we'll do today is we will take that grey there. Haven't got my script liner brush. Okie dokie. Let us just get just a couple little marks. Nope. Too light. All right, this is actually a fun little painting, and I might actually put the videos of this live stream into the values course, because this is really just like an extension of learning about values, as I think Julie pointed out. It's sort of like going from values to a painting with a slight bit of colour into it, but not much. Not much. Okay, so pulling some of that sky into it and just getting some softness into those edges there, but not too much. It is a fairly strong, dominant dark, this tree. It's the closest thing to where I was standing, so it kind of appears almost like it's out of the mist a little bit. We're going to leave it there today, folks. I've painted it all fairly thin, so it's kind of hard to move the paint around as a first block in. So I'm not going to really be able to push paint around the way I want to for the purpose of finessing it and so on. So that's what we'll do next week, right? Well, this will dry off a bit. I'll come in with thicker paint in the areas where I need to work, and that will enable us to push paint around. Okay. And that will then help us get that finessing that we want to get into it. But we're on the right track. So we'll wrap it up there. Let's just backtrack up here a little bit. Andrew says, looks great. You can walk into the mist. Yes. Indeed. Jenny says, amazing. Love the mist. Cool. Peter says, what you have is better than the photo. Thank you, Peter. And I think that's really the goal, isn't it? Is for us to create something that transcends the photo. So thank you for that nice compliment. Caroline says, I agree. Would be nice to have a river and a canal boat moored. Well, you know, if you've got a photo of that, then I'd be happy to tackle something like that, as long as there's not too much information in it. Janet says, looks beautiful already. Thank you, Janet. Sandy says, this is great. I did a lighthouse in the fog, which I really liked, but wasn't sure I'd done correctly. I just did it from what I remembered of fog coming off the Great Lakes. Very good, Sandy. Love the earthy tone of the road, says Beverly. Yeah. Kind of working. Lynn says, could you take the road a little deeper into the fog? You probably could. But I don't want that horizon line to get up too high. I could probably bring the fog down a little bit, which, you know, that's all sort of decision making we'll do next week. I mean, the idea of step 1 and step 2 of the Moore method is to get it to a certain point, and then step 3, which we'll do next week, we'll start to refine it and make those sort of decisions at that point. Jenny said, love the soft edges, love the values you have there. This is a great example. Thank you, Jenny. And again, this is very similar to what we put into the values course, which I just released last week, and it's a good sort of extension beyond that. So I think I will include this, these videos in that course. Jenny said, this is where oils have an advantage over acrylic. Yeah, now if you're doing this in acrylic, then you're going to want to have a fair bit of retarder. I mean, you can block it in acrylics without worrying about the softness and the edges, right? Just block it in, make it blocky. When we come to do step 3, you want to have plenty of retarder into it to keep it wet longer, so you can keep moving the paint around and softening the edges out. So yeah, oils definitely have an advantage over acrylic, but you know, acrylics, you can still achieve the same result. It's just understanding what the working process would be. Dawn said she loves the finger brush. Don't do what I do. Sonia said, all the colours for this painting have come from the initial dark. Absolutely, there's that unity, that initial grey. All I've done is I've lightened that off, and then I've just added a little bit of colour to it, right? But that central grey I mixed originally is the unifying factor for this painting, yeah? So good pickup, Sonia. Peter said, Colin's dictionary of artistic terms must be getting pretty full. I don't know, Colin's pretty resourceful. You just keep adding pages to it. Sherry's humming the song. Don't worry, be happy. Good on you, Sherry. Pass it on to somebody today. Debbie said, yes, that's where it belongs. I've been working my way through that again. Cool, Debbie. Linda says, great demo from the singing master painter. Your energy today is happily contagious. Well, thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Thanks, Donna. Thank you, Sonia. Magdalene says, great subject. Thanks, Rob. My pleasure, Magdalene. I imagine you have some scenes similar in Hobart there. Melbourne certainly did. Thanks, Jenny. Sujata said, thanks, Rod. Great demo as always. Can't wait to get to my easel. Yes, have fun with this one. And really it's a study in values and saturation, right? You reducing the saturation, greying it down. Thank you, P. Colson. 1. Glad you enjoyed it. Jenny said, by the way, my sister-in-law is taking loads of photos of St. Ives. Oh, really? I love St. Ives. I spent 2 weeks in St. Ives and explored that whole Cornwall area, and then my computer blew up and I lost about 600 photos. I was devastated, but oh, what a great spot. Dawn said, a really great lesson. Love the mist. Good on you, Dawn. Caroline said, looks gorgeous. Love the misty. And perhaps the road is better. Thank you for the instruction. Good on you, Caroline. Janet said, looking forward to giving this one a go. Yes, I think it's not a subject we've done a lot of in the Learn to Paint Academy, so it's definitely one to have a go at, if for no other reason than just to expand your horizons out, yeah? Lynn said, looking great. Looking forward to trying it. Good on you, Lynn. Caroline said, I mixed more of a purple. Now, Caroline, if you mixed a purple, add more yellow ochre to it, right? The yellow ochre is already an earthy tone, so it's already desaturated, and that's, you know, if you're mixing blue and red, you get purple. To get it to a neutral tone, add more of the third primary, which is our yellow ochre. So just keep playing around with it until you get it there. I mean, if you go back to watch this video again, you'll see my initial mix was pretty purple. Meryl said, I've really enjoyed learning fog, thank you. My whites often look chalky, but these greys don't look chalky. Yeah, whites are challenging, and if you use too much white in your painting, you will end up with it looking chalky. So if it does get chalky, what you want to do is either cool it down, so push it more to the cool side, or warm it up, and that usually will fix that. If you just make up a mix and add white to it, it will reduce the value, but it will also make it go cooler and chalkier looking. Janet said, looking forward to trying this. Love the misty look. Good on you, Janet. Janet said, I know, and I'll send them on to you. Oh, cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, Carleen. Where are we up to here? I'm wondering if the middle of the back tree is a bit light. It is a little bit light. I've lightened it off deliberately, and we'll have another look at it next week and see what we need to adjust. Perhaps a green tone in the left side trees, maybe, although it's not. I'm not seeing it in the photo. Maybe a little bit. Certainly the right-hand tree, I think we need to get a dark green into. Teresa said, I have so many foggy pictures I want to paint here in Nova Scotia. This is a great help. Good on you, Teresa. Have fun with that. Gary said, the fog almost follows the tyre tracks on the road. Cool. I mean, it feels like it's coming down the road a little bit. Philippa said, my grandfather painted scenery for film sets in Ealing Studios. Oh, excellent. Very good. You like seeing the mixing techniques? I think colour mixing is one of those fundamental skills. So, Celine said, wonderful, it's really coming together. Values course is a must-do for me. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been talking a lot about the fundamentals. So the fundamentals are composition and design, values, and then colour and colour mixing, then brushes and brushwork, in that order, right? If you want to take a big leap forward in your painting, really get your head around composition and design. So we talk about big shapes in the Moore method of painting, but there's other compositional things to consider. Values is the next most important, then colour and colour mixing, and then brushes and brushwork. If you can get your head around those four and really study them, not just intellectually, but being able to translate that onto the canvas, then your painting will take off. It really will. And the problem for a lot of us beginning is that we don't have a framework to follow or a path to follow. And so we're all over the place. You know, 1 minute we're watching somebody on YouTube, next minute we're looking at something else on Facebook, and there's no organised, structured process, right? And that's what I'm trying to build into the Learn to Paint Academy. And we'll keep getting better and better at it. You know, we've done a reasonably good job in the last however long. The next 5 years, we'll keep getting better and better at mapping out that program you need to follow to really take a great leap forward in your painting. Lindley says, I love how it draws you in. Yeah, I think a foggy painting should draw you right into it, shouldn't it? So you feel like you're going to get lost in there. Mary says, looks great, Rod. Love it. Thank you. My pleasure, Mary. That should be help for some of your local scenes there in Ireland? Starting to look very moody, says Shelley. Very good. I should have painted this one when I was more of a mood, shouldn't I, rather than a happy, bright, sunny disposition. I said, thanks, Rob. We'll have a go after all my commissions are done. Very good. Celine said, thanks, Rod. We'll do those fundamentals for sure. Yep, I can be all over the place. Yeah, most of us start all over the place, and a lot of us stay there, you know. It's just a question of making up in your own mind how far you want to go down the path on your artist journey. And then if you want to really progress, then having a structured program is the key. Okay. Morning, Barb. So glad to see the painting arrive, Barb, and your lovely smiling face with it. Linda said, I stumbled across you today. Thank you. Love the tree now softened. I'm in Ganmain near Wagga. Oh, good on you, Linda. Really appreciate your teaching style. Thank you so much, Linda. Go and check out the Learn to Paint Academy and come and join us. Hey, Vicky. What do you use for mist? Well, Vicky, I think that's a big question, and I'd recommend watching the replay of this because I talked about that all the way through this painting process. It's basically grey. It's just a grey. Linda says, there's a smiling face in the big tree. Oh, did I inadvertently paint a smiling face? Well, that's good. Love the effects, says Linda. Very good. Jenny says, yes, please, but I can't remember what to. Yvonne said, looking forward to next week. Good on you, Yvonne. Linda says, magic. Thank you so much. Good on you, Linda. Very nice, says Linda. The other Linda, Linda Olet. Connie says, very interesting. Good, Connie. Glad you found it interesting. Jan says, thanks from Belgium. Good on you, Jan. Hope things are good in Belgium for you. Love it, says Kathy. Love your decision making, says Jenny. You get to hear all my thought processes out loud. Barb says she can have fun with this tomorrow. Good on you, Barbara. Shelley said, thanks, this is a helpful reminder to stay disciplined. Yes, you do need a little bit of discipline and focus and consistency to become good at painting. But, you know, it's painting. If you love it, then those things shouldn't be that much of a problem. What was the green you began mixing, asks Linda. Well, it was just ultramarine blue and yellow ochre. So, I mean, I basically used 3 colours and white, right? So green is a blue and a yellow. So the blue that I use is ultramarine blue, pardon me, and the yellow is yellow ochre. So that's all I did. But I added to that the basic grey that I started with, just to grey it off, to stop it being highly saturated, right? When paint comes out of a tube, it's highly saturated, which means it's bright and it's alive and vibrant. And in a misty scene, we want it to be muted. We want to tone down the colour, which is greying it off, right? So I added some grey to that blue and yellow. So that's all it was, Linda. Janet said you were doing a great job of teaching the process. Thank you, Janet. Appreciate that. Gail said, wonderful as always. Thank you very much. Cindy said, structured learning is just what I need. Just finished the composition and design, now going into mixing. Yeah, well, do the values course first, Cindy, which I've only just recently put into the members area. I'd do that before the colour mixing course because I do think it follows a logical progression. And if you look at the Moore method of painting, what are we doing in step 1? We're doing big shapes, which is composition and design. Then in step 2, which is what we've done here, is block in, which is setting up your values pattern. Then step 3, we're getting more into colour. So I'd do them in that order if you have the opportunity to do them in that order, those courses, right? They're all in the members area now. All right, friends, we're going to wrap it up right there. Remember to don't worry and be happy. Thank you all so much for joining me. We'll get back to this one next week. Now, there's no advanced live stream. I know I confused a few people last week. There's no advanced live stream tomorrow because I'll be in Brisbane. On Friday, we will have our coffee chat. Next Thursday, we will do an advanced live stream. So make a note of that. And thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate you